Honorable Bashiru Dawodu, member of the House of Representatives representing Oshodi Isolo 1 Federal Constituency in Lagos State, is also the chairman House Committee on Disability Matters. And right now he's in his second term in the National Assembly, is a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, and most interestingly, is a medical specialist who practiced in the US before coming back home to join politics. Welcome to Lens on Africa.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, so the conversation today, like I said, is well within your purview. So it's been 5 years since the National Disability Act, like some people would call it. How far would you say that we have gone as a country? Are we doing well in its implementation, or are there still gaps?
The gaps, I would say we're not doing well. No doubt about that. I think the first challenge is the moratorium of five years that was put in the bill, just to give the time so that folks can get adjusted to that. Unfortunately, within that period, institutions and organizations didn't really make plans for the implementation of sections of the Act. So that's a major challenge. So I would say we're not where we should be. We're really far from where we should be.
Okay. Can we identify what the challenge is? I mean, we just saw the report where, you know, it's clear. Right. People know. Is it defiance, like, oh well, this is probably not be taken seriously, or is it that they really can't help but you know, maintain what's already on ground?
Right. In the first place, that's the reason for the law, because by instinct, you know, the way human beings, the DNA of human beings is that you don't want to do things sometimes unless there's enforcement.
Yes.
So thank God, after decades of advocacy, we have the law, and has been signed by the president. So there's a moratorium, but the moratorium is over.
Yes, 5 years now.
January. So our belief in the committee is that we are going to have to, you know, have some enforcement to make folks to start following the law. So I don't think it's something that comes by instinct. So we're going to continue to work hard to get that.
Okay. Now let's talk accessibility. Right. Okay. How would you rate the number of facilities, buildings, transportation platforms that have put persons with disabilities into consideration? Is this satisfactory or not?
No, it's very unsatisfactory, because the committee conducted anecdotal findings just at random. And we find that a lot of public buildings are not compliant over in the country. So we think that when we start the implementation in full force, I think there's going to be a kind of a drag where you find a lot of people who start to comply with the law. That's my opinion on that.
Okay, so if there has been a 5-year moratorium period and people have not yet complied, has there been any effort to find out what exactly the challenge is? Any effort at all? You know, earlier I said it could be ignorance, or it could be people just wanting to defy the law. Has there been any conscious effort to find out what exactly the issue is? You know, with the building owners not complying to the stipulations and all. I
think it's multifactorial. You know, primarily there's the issue of awareness. Thank God that NTA is at the forefront of that, although it's also in the law that the Ministry of Information should encourage the awareness. Okay. But following NTA, I think you are way ahead of the curve in that area. So awareness, that is really important. A lot of people are not aware. And the other part of it is that for private organizations, there's the cost factor.
Yes.
And then for individuals, some people are just defiant. Some people don't even believe that there are folks that the disability community exists. So, but I think this will all turn around when we get together and start encouraging people to follow the law. I think we will see a lot of changes in that regard.
Now you mentioned cost factor. Let's break that down a little bit, because I know that I've had the privilege of having these conversations, you know, and people genuinely say that this is literally like changing the entire format of the building. It's going to cost us an arm and a leg. So is there any provision for such situations where the costs of making these changes is a legitimate concern?
Oh, it is a legitimate concern. For example, if you look at the financial set of the banks, I mean, think about if you have a wheelchair, how is it for you to enter the bank, even for regular folks? You know, I say that all the branches, you create situation where the PWDs can enter their branches. But the way to look at it is that it's even good business for them. You know, PWDs are over 35 million people, and the bank.
Right.
So most of you can imagine if you cannot even touch the ATM buttons.
Right.
That's what they are facing.
Right.
So it has to be recognized that for the private sector, these are actually customers. There's money to be made in that area. But more importantly for us in government, government will not wait for private sector. Government have to do the right thing. The government is there to protect all its citizens.
Okay.
So we think that the PWD is a significant part of the Nigerian society and they must be protected. So that is our approach to the situation.
Still talking about accessibility, does this also extend to residential areas, to estates and high-rise buildings, etc.? Does this extend to them?
Definitely. What it says is that it talks about public buildings.
Yeah.
This is in section 2. What it means is that if you go to church, you must be able to access.
What about residential buildings?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's once it's something that is not your private property.
Yes.
Once it's a public property that other folks are going to go into that place, that's what the law addresses. The law will not go into individual homes, obviously.
Of course. Okay. All right then. Now, let's talk about how well we're doing as a country in terms of awareness creation, because it's one thing for there to be a law in existence. It's another thing for the people to know about the law in existence. How well do you think we're doing in terms of awareness creation?
Once again,
yes.
I think we're not doing well. You know, I'm sorry that maybe coming up with this doom,
of course,
but I think it's important for us to face the facts. If you look at the background, we don't even recognize PWDs. We tend to stigmatize, we tend to hide them in the closets. We don't want people to know that, oh, I have a child that has Down syndrome, because it's a taboo. So that's what necessitated the law in the first place. So now we're not talking about charity or doing favors to them, no. We're talking about rights protection as well as protecting their welfare, and the law has addressed that. So it is the duty of us in the legislature as envisioned in the Constitution of Nigeria to ensure that that happens.
Okay. Now, while we are ensuring that that happens, we know, of course, that we have to have sustained campaigns in this regard. There are some individuals in hard-to-reach places, you know, rural areas. There's the issue of language. There's the, and all the other factors that can hinder. That is what I would like to know, whether there is any conscious effort in that regard. Because the 5-year moratorium period is over. We're expecting that, okay, we're hitting the ground running. I'm talking about your committee now, hitting the ground running. However, you've mentioned that some efforts have been put in place to ensure people are aware of it. What about the hard-to-reach places? What about those places that are almost cut off, you know, from the rest of civilization?
Thank you very much, because that's actually the larger proportion of the PWDs. The folks that in rural areas that people are hiding on their beds or hiding in the corners, that they don't want people to know they have PWDs. And the level of education is actually quite low. And that's one of the things you find in this law that's going to ensure that they receive free education to whatever level it is. Also, the law established the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. And that's the arm of the executive that's supposed to take care of these situations. But I know from the perspective of our committee, we think that awareness have to involve the traditional rulers, the religious leaders in those communities in order to really reach them. And there's a lot of effort by virtue of legislation to see how we can encourage that.
That's quite interesting, because, for instance, the case of the young man who, Mr. Daniels, who was denied access to an eatery at an international airport, goes to show that it's still happening even in the city. So how much more in these hard-to-reach areas? Now, let's talk about how do I put it now? Let's talk about attitudinal changes in society. You mentioned earlier that there are still cases of discrimination. There really are. Now, how do we get to the point where we find that people are opening up their hearts towards people with disabilities, children, adults, especially in terms of employment? Where do we begin?
Okay. This is a job of all of us. Once again, I will talk from the perspective of being in government. I think going around, you see folks that are PWs always begging. By the way, that is illegal in this law. So what government has done, your government, what it has done is to say in this law that every time you do a recruitment, at least 5% of the people that are employed must be PWDs. That's the law of Nigeria as of today.
Okay.
So I think that if that is implemented, we will face a situation that more and more of them will get employed. Now, in terms of stigmatization, discrimination, and cultural issues, that's age-long, and things do change, but it takes time.
It takes time, okay.
There was a time in Nigeria that they killed twins. There's some parts of Africa that they kill albinos, you know. But we know that these are not things that are not changeable. Those people are not doing that. Even in Africa, we're saying that you have human sacrifice. So change is possible. You just need the vision, the passion, and the commitment of folks who are leading. So most of the time, it's the leaders that actually show people the way. Most people will just be set in their ways, and they, by instinct, don't want to change.
All right, now let's step away from all the bad news in quote. And are there any success stories that you'd like to share with us, you know, from either activities of your committee or the efforts that you've put out that has borne any success story that you would like to share?
Oh, that's important. I think sometimes we're so remote from the legislature. This particular issue is one of those cases that your house has worked for you. There was a lot of advocacy from the civil society for a long time, and eventually the House delivered.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. What we have done in our own committee is to go back to the whole House and put motions together.
Okay.
Because that's the way we work, so that we can enforce the law. And we have had 3 orders from the House now that have given us the mandate that we should investigate the compliance of MDAs. Yeah. We should investigate the compliance of public buildings. So we're going to need you, because we're going to see us more. Because I think part of the issue of investigation is that it's also a form of awareness. It doesn't mean when you're conducting an investigation, immediately you have to start sanctioning people. No. The first part of it is to do an audit. Okay, you have this organization, you know, can you do an audit to see whether you are compliant? You have this ministerial agency, how well are you compliant? And then, don't worry, we're going to review you again in 6 months' time. It doesn't mean that immediately there will be sanctions. But we have to just start and kick the ball rolling. That's our feeling in the committee. Okay.
All right. That's interesting. Now, talk to us about any recent or upcoming proposals to further enhance the act that is already on ground, to ensure that, you know, there are no loopholes in protecting the rights and inclusion of people with disabilities.
Yeah, thank you. That's another wonderful question, because you see, when we were trying to make the law, it's very difficult with 366 members to get something passed. So you have to be flexible. So we went through that. It's like making sausage is a little messy, but eventually we got the law. But there are a lot of loopholes. We think that, like, when you are talking about the fines and sanctions, they were relating to at that time, rather than something that is dynamic as things change, inflation and all those things change. We think there are certain areas that were not even addressed at all, like children with disabilities. You know, actually, what about disability? Who is considered to be a PWD? Some Nigerians will say, we don't think albinos they have disability. That just tell you that they don't know that albinos have they have vision problems and all those problems. So we like to be more specific about who is a PWD. We also like to address the issue of children that have disabilities. We like to include clusters like intellectual disability, which are the children that are born, like the children that have Down syndrome and the likes. Also, we have not addressed the women with disabilities. We think there's also a gender issue in the PWDs. There's also discrimination with the women. You can imagine a woman going to the labor ward, the hospital that's pregnant, and the folks that are saying that you're on wheelchair, why are you pregnant? So that tells you the level of the understanding of even the caregivers. So we think the issues like the violence against persons, we don't think that the penalty for a perpetrator that abuses a regular lady versus somebody that's on wheelchair, we don't think the penalty should be the same.
Okay.
So we still a lot of gaps that we think that need amendment. And by the way, there are 2 bills going on in the House now that we have to synchronize that are about the amendment of the Act.
Of the Act.
You know, we think that every organization should have a disability desk. We think that there are rehabilitation centers. There are actually 13 rehabilitation centers in Nigeria from way back that are moribund.
Okay.
We don't think they should be, we think they should be in this particular agency.
Okay.
So we think that assistive devices, you know, they're actually usually expensive and they're imported. We think there should be tariffs, some of them waivers, and some of those things are really expensive. So there's a lot of energy going into it. And mind you, there's also going to be constitutional amendment.
Okay.
We would like some of these issues to actually be in the Constitution.
True.
So that gives you, you know, from the scratch that it is the Constitution of Nigeria XYZ. So
nobody can claim not to be aware. That's interesting. Now, you talked about synchronization earlier. Let's talk about partnering or collaborating with other tiers of government. So your committee is in the House of Representatives. Have you had any opportunity, or are you looking forward to collaborating with other tiers of government to see this to fruition?
Definitely. Like I said, the law established the National Commission on Persons with Disability.
Yeah.
And we're in very high-level collaboration with them. Actually, the instance you were discussing about Mr. Daniel, they also invited the folks that are involved.
Okay.
So we are very much in touch. And you know, they come to us for their budget, so we have a relationship. Now, there's also the office of the SSA in the presidency. You know, a very vibrant, very active gentleman that's there as the head of that agency. It's also, you know, very much in touch with us closely all the time.
Yeah.
So yes, there's collaboration with the government, and the government is actually very supportive of about the PWDs.
All right, that's interesting to hear. What about collaborations or partnerships with international organizations, aid organizations? Is there anything like that, or are we expecting such collaborations in the near future?
You know, one of the brightest spots of the PWD committee is that the civil society or NGOs are really at the center. When there was no government, when there was no commission, when there was no law, they were there with them all the way, and there are many.
Okay.
So they have one association called the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability. They are strong. Then there's also a lot of international organizations, and they're doing a lot of amazing things in Nigeria all the time.
All right.
So we have engaged with them, and we are very familiar with some of them, and they have indicated interest in supporting what we're doing, especially in terms of what we're discussing here, disability awareness and compliance. They are very strong on those issues.
All right, now let's talk about the act that covers employment. Now, there's this section of society that says, well, you know how the 35% affirmative action for women was received? Some people, you know, were sentimental about that. Let's talk about this 5%, you know, allocation, let me use the word, for persons with disabilities. At what point do we wade in to say, oh, it's qualified, or not qualified, but because we need to fill in this quota? Or, you know, so there's this argument that, oh, are we doing it out of sentiment, or are we doing it because the people are actually qualified? Tell us the real thing based on, you know, experience, feedback, and what exactly should it be at this point?
And this is not an unusual situation. If you follow the woman, okay, what I mean saying, follow the woman, you are, you know, that's not something that I experienced. But if you, an observer, follow the women movement, you will see how women got to where you are now. It's not that folks sat down and people will now give you the rights a la carte. It's never happened in the history of the world. People are going to fight, you have to keep fighting for it. There's no doubt about that. So the first thing is that it's never been considered. Now it's there. There's another law in Nigeria, which is the Federal Character Law. And I see it in the house. People know that if they want to do employment in Nigeria, they have to look at the whole law. If NTA is going to recruit, he has to look at Nigeria. So it is not far-fetched to see how that can be done. And for us in the House, when folks come with the budget, we ask them, where is your nominal role? We want to see the people you have recruited. Routinely during budget defense.
Okay.
So there are novel ways of getting there. So we can ask them, okay, have you done any recruitment this year? So if you have done recruitment this year, how many women did you employ? How many PWDs did you employ?
I see.
And, so really, I think if you have a very active committee representing the folks, I don't think we're going to get to Hulu, but we're going to go far.
We will definitely go far. That's amazing. Now, I would like to, I mean, for those who are probably listening, either individuals or CSOs or fellow government officials like yourself, is there any message that you would like to leave with, I mean, based off of this recent event? It just goes to show us that not everybody's on the same plate. Yeah. Or on the same page. Is there a message that you would like to leave for them concerning persons with disabilities, inclusivity and protection?
Definitely. I think for the CSO,
yes,
I will take this opportunity to thank them that they have been on point, they have been with us all the way, and that we cannot thank them enough. We think that we're still going to continue to need their support because government cannot do everything. So thank you very much, NGOs, CSOs. For persons with disability, we would like them to know that you are not alone. Your government is with you. The government is going to stand by you. And we're going to ensure that your lives are better. For Nigerians as a whole, when we're talking about PWDs or persons with disability, it takes just 1 second. The gentleman that you saw on the screen, he was going to the airport. He's a journalist like you, Dr. Chike, and got into an accident.
Yeah.
You know, and became paralyzed. That's how he became a PWD. So this is not, nobody's immune. My cousin about 2 weeks ago had a stroke. And right now he can't talk, he can't walk.
Wow.
It's just 1 second. So, but the way it works is that when we understand that it's not about charity or favor, we're actually doing it for ourselves. We're not doing anybody a favor. So God forbid, if you find yourself in a situation, the government or the society will be there for you. Okay. That's my message to Nigerians.
Thank you so much, sir. I've been speaking with Honorable Bashiru Daudu. He's a member of House of Representatives representing Oshodi Isolo 1 Federal Constituency in Lagos State. He's also the Chairman Committee on House Committee on Disability Matters. Thank you so much for your time, sir. We hope that when we call on you again, you would oblige us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, sir. Thank you too for staying tuned.